Stream. Hey, there we are. Hey, everybody, we're
Hey,
live. Hey, everybody.
excellent.
Excellent. A little
Excellent.
technology working here.
Yes.
Now we're come over this way.
This
Over
way?
this way. Oh, that's better. There you go.
Shift.
There you go. All right. All right. How's that, everybody?
Oh, there you go. Center.
Centered.
There you
All
go.
right. All right. So, welcome to Toronto. How are you, my
Thank
friend?
you. It's great. Yeah, I flew in last night from Tampa Bay, and the weather is much nicer than when we met in Montreal. In Montreal, I landed into a snowstorm, but now it's 18, so very manageable. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good, and of course, this is the Food Professor podcast. We're live here at the Restaurants Canada show in Toronto,
where we actually decided
Conceived
to
of-
start a podcast
right.
a few years ago.
We're back where it all began.
Yeah.
It's like the origin story.
That's
We're back
right.
where it all began.
Genesis.
It's the genesis of the podcast. So, hey, listen, it's great to see you. You're live and you just rolled off the stage.
Yeah,
what
just
were you
roll out
talking
the
about?
say with some great guests talking about supply chains, the buzzwords of COVID, right? Obviously, the industry was affected by everything that's going on, but of course, supply chains were quite hit hard by everything. And so I had a representative from Boston Pizza, the Boston Pizza Group, someone from Gordon Foods, and someone from King Cole Ducks as well.
That's got to be trouble with the
avian
flu, right?
On top of that, yeah. So
Jeez.
we did talk about the
Yep.
latest avian flu situation, and it was a great panel, and lots of questions from the audience as well. It's always a good sign, and frankly, I mean, I think we spent half an hour out of 45 minutes to talk about the big elephant in the room, which is inflation.
And new numbers out of the U.S. came out today. What was it? 9.4%. 9.4%
Yeah.
inflation in the U.S.
You know, I think economists are starting to realize, because for many years they were saying, let's look at core inflation. Let's forget about energy. Let's forget about food. It's too volatile. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Food and energy are affecting everyone's lives, so they don't have a choice. They have to look at it. They have to look at food. And right now, what's driving inflation in the U.S. is food. 9.4%. Yeah.
I was out shopping and you just can't help looking at the prices. I mean, they're just like, I bought some. By the way, Sylvan is going to be my first ever guest on the cooking show, Last Request Barbecue.
Yeah.
A little bit of a reveal. I bought some pork, great pork shoulder. Very hard to find. I went to 5 grocery stores to find a pork shoulder. Very hard to find. And so I wound up at Cumbrae's, which is a specialty store, which I shop from often. And I got 2 nice, I don't know, maybe 8 pounds in total. 2 times 4.
Right.
$90.
Wow.
$90. Now, to be fair, it's heritage pork. It's these pork
good quality.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these pigs have a great life and one bad day, right? So, right? Which is kind of how I like to enjoy my my meat. But there you go. I guess I'm kind of like, I'm just trying to figure out the right angles on this live stream that we're doing here.
You're a little bit shorter than I am, so you're.
Yeah, I know.
But you were that sign actually shaves your head a little bit.
Well, that's not entirely a bad thing. You got to work with what you got. Well, listen,
that's right.
And we're here at the RC trade show. We've kind of got ahead of ourselves. What are we doing here? Tell the viewers, the listeners, what this show's all about. The buzz is obvious if you're watching us live.
Yeah, I mean,
great people. It's back. It's been missing, and
typically, I mean, you have 2 major shows in Canada when it comes to innovation and food, and there's one in food service, and the other one is focused on a mixture of different sectors. And Seattle was that. We were there a few weeks ago.
Yeah, in Montreal.
Typically, the RC show is before Seattle.
That's right. Usually, it's the first week of March, right?
First week of March. And so
it's all colliding this year. It's all colliding. Everybody's doing every conference.
But now, of course, Restaurants Canada decided to have its show in May. And frankly, typically for this season, it's really the one major, I would say, retail show, the RC show. And there's always a lot of buzz. And I don't know if you actually had some time to walk around and talk to people, but it seems busy, which is good.
Yeah, I was talking to one, and they might be joining us from Fitch and Leeds, actually. I know they supply me some Fitch and Leeds tonic water for our Levin's Water Gin. Remember we did Levin's Water Gin on the podcast.
Yes.
And he was saying, it's like somebody turned a light switch on, right? That the bars are opening, the restaurants are opening, and it's basically, and you can see it in the StatsCan numbers. I was looking at the StatsCan numbers for February, March, and you could start to see finally that split happen between services and goods sold, right? So the retailers are crying a little bit because people are starting to buy stuff, except apparel, which is up like 40%.
Right.
But now people are starting to go out and lead normal lives, which means back to restaurants, back to travel, all those things, right? So you're starting to see more harmonization in the economy, right?
I got to tell you, though, last night, so I arrived, flew in.
Yeah. How was the airport? I heard it's a gong show.
It was easy.
It was fine?
It was fine. Now, I arrived at a time perhaps that things were fine, but unlike my other experiences at Pearson, it was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good. Yeah, so it was really easy peasy.
So arrived yesterday.
And I don't look threatening. I'm a professor.
Well, that being said, when I stopped by the Canadian duck place, they were who was it? Chicken Canada. I said, "Hey, with Sylvain." They're like, "Oh, that's so nice." Oh my God, it was funny. The reaction was like,
"Really?"
Oh yeah, I was like, "Oh yeah, we know him." Well, hey, we got our first guest, Mike. Come on in.
Come on in.
Come on in, Mike. All right, slap some headphones on, and let me turn your mic on.
We know these products.
We know these products.
Yes.
All right, now come on over a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's get you on camera here, just for the best of both worlds. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. Welcome to the Food Professor podcast show. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for having me. What a great show.
All right, Brett, grab that microphone over and then tilt it up. Right, so there you go. All right.
There we go.
There you go. Now we can hear you better. All right.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. So Michael and I met because Paul Allenby, who is the maker of Levin's Water Gin, which we tried, introduced us.
That's
right. Paul was all crazy about you got to have the right kind of tonic, right? He spends so much time making a bespoke gin. He says, well, just don't throw anything in there. And Michael, you were telling me off mic yesterday that the reason you're winning with the Fitch and Leeds is because it doesn't, crowd out the flavors of these bespoke juices or these bespoke gins. Is that a fair description?
Yeah, I think that's a great description. We're the distiller's choice for sure. The flavor profiles are muted. The sweetness is low. Also that the particular nuance or specific characteristic that a distiller has worked so hard to present still shines through. So if you're a fan of well distilled or well engineered craft spirits, then this is the right mix for you.
All right. Well, tell us all about Fitch and Leeds. You brought some for us. Let's get this one out of the way.
Right, yes.
What have you brought for us, and what's it all about?
Sure. So Fitch and Leeds is a product from South Africa. They have an entire huge portfolio of different flavored tonics and other carbonated beverages.
Beautiful.
And we just saw a real opportunity here. There's a lot of other products in the marketplace.
Yeah.
But those differentiators are really, really apparent in this product. And it's that muted sort of flavor profile that we really fell in love with. And so, we've got 3 products here in North America now, and we plan on bringing over the rest of the portfolio over time. And what I've got here for you guys right now is I've got a pink tonic, which is our best seller. It's rose and cucumber flavored. It is the best seller globally. Yep. And then I've also brought a grapefruit tonic as well. The grapefruit tonic's interesting because it's a bit of a crossover. Great with vodka, great with gin, but you got to try that with tequila.
Oh,
it's unbelievable
Really?
with tequila.
I've tried it with vodka. It's very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed with Paul's gin, I go lighter than stronger. This overwhelms Paul's, flavor profile a little bit, but with let's say call it ordinary gin, it's fantastic. I mean, it really adds just a burst of flavor. So let's give it a try. Let's give it a try.
Yeah.
Look, he's got nice glasses. We're all bespoke. Hey, you could twist these off.
Yeah.
Okay, I've learned something today.
There you go.
The podcast is over. I've just learned everything I now need to know.
So we're going non-alcoholic, unfortunately, here today, guys. But anyway.
That's okay.
That's okay. We'll make up for it later in the day.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
I like to pair the pink tonic with some fresh kiwi.
Okay.
Depending on the spirit, you might change it up. But for me, my go-to is muddled kiwi, sliced kiwi, or muddled plums with this product is unbelievable.
Muddled plums.
So who would like the pink?
I'll take the pink.
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you.
With kiwi.
Yeah, and for
Cheers,
the grapefruit,
cheers.
I like to double down on some sweet grapefruit, and I like a little bit of lime in there as well. So here's the grapefruit.
Ooh.
I don't know if you can hear that fizz.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
For all those
Thank you very much.
ASRM fans of our podcast.
Cheers.
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 Thanks
Thank
for
you,
stopping by. Let's give it this. So with the kiwi, I got to tell you, here I am off camera again. It's amazing. This is just such a rich
Very
flavor.
satisfying, yeah.
Hey, very satisfying.
Yeah.
So even if you're not mixing it with, your favorite spirit, it is a really refreshing drink on a hot summer day.
It is refreshing. Absolutely.
And tell us about yourself. So you brought this to Canada. What do you do?
So I look after sort of our American distribution partnerships as well as the spirit partnerships here in Canada, and sort of lead the sales team. And I have two partners in the business, and we've been importing this product for a little over 2 years. But unfortunately, our first few containers that came over came right when the pandemic started, and we were planning on building this brand through the hospitality industry and building some brand equity amongst the mixology community. And of course,
that was the plan.
That was the plan, and we had to pivot a little bit because we only received food service packaging with our first 3 containers.
Geez.
And so we had to pivot, and we were able to get an e-com store and an Amazon store set up pretty quickly, and able to get through the product that way.
So you've been here for more than 2 days now. So what are you seeing at the RC show? How's the buzz? You're connecting with different folks. How are people reacting to your product?
It's been really fantastic, actually. The feedback is always positive when people try our product, and I think this show was a great opportunity for us to connect with some of the right people. So we've had the pleasure of having some great conversations with some key buyers and some key retailers.
Who are showing up at your booth over the last 3 days? Distributors, wholesalers, who are showing up?
Yeah, so there's the whole bar and beverage section here. So there's a lot of distillers here, and they've come over and tried our product. We're trying to invite as many of them over to our.
That's an important partnership, right? Get the that type of the industry to recommend and want us to be served with your product, right?
Yeah, that's right. And during the pandemic, a lot of these distillers started gin and tonic clubs and other e-com kind of things that they're doing with their packaging, some non-alcoholic product or some tonic with their spirits. So having the distiller stand behind the product is really important for us. It adds credibility right away.
And how have you seen? I was saying to Sylvain just before he got here that I've been hearing that it's like a light switch turning on, right? Ever since the industry, is that what been your experience as well?
Yeah, it was slow for a long time, and of course everybody's just kind of gotten through some of that older inventory that they had lying around, so people are now refreshing their cocktail menus. They're looking for new exciting products, new innovation to bring into the bars and restaurants. And of course, we're the new kid on the block, so there's a lot of interest because everyone wants to have something a little bit different.
Right. Stand out a little bit different. Well, Michael, thanks for joining us on the Food Professor podcast.
I really appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you for the drinks. They're really delicious.
Coffee.
now, before you go, give this thing keeps turning around for some reason. Hold on. That's not you. That's me. Yeah, look at that. All right. There. That's better. All right. Now, before you go, tell the folks how to find your product and how to learn more and how to get in touch with you.
Sure. Yeah. We have a website, fitchleeds.com, FITCHLEEDES.com.
Yeah.
It's on the label. You should be able to find it. And there, obviously, there's an e-commerce side of the website, but you can go there for all kinds of great cocktail ideas. We have, little tutorials about what glassware is the right glassware to use with various cocktails. So if you're an at-home bartender or mixologist or just looking for some great tonic, there's something for everybody on the website. And of course, we have our store set up on Amazon.
And you ship, of course, with Amazon, you'll ship everywhere in Canada and direct
all over
as well,
Canada and the US.
Fantastic.
And then certainly in the GTA, we offer free delivery to homes with no minimum orders.
Fantastic. Well, listen, it's great. Well, listen, Michael, thanks for stopping by. It's great to meet you in person. You and I have talked via email.
Yeah,
thanks.
nice to meet you.
With the hand across.
Thanks, Michael.
Have a great rest of the show.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really
appreciate it. We'll bring back the glasses, promise.
Okay, thanks.
Right.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Watch out for the
There you
Thanks. Wow, that's nice, is it?
Yeah.
Nice surprise.
Now we just realign here and see who else is going to visit. We might have some of these. I was talking to some guy from Brazil who had some great product, and
really,
Robert Carter is supposed to drop by. Mr.
Well,
Coffee.
I saw Robert. He was actually on a panel. He's probably super busy these days.
I just sent him. I just sent him a text actually. I said, "Hey, you're joining us." He goes, "Yeah, I'll be right there."
Yeah,
I said, "Come at 11:45. Give us a chance."
Yeah.
We'll see if he shows up. He's Mr. Coffee.
He's Mr. Coffee.
He's Mr. Coffee. He's president of the Canadian Coffee Association, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And also a noted analyst and industry expert. And,
That's right. Yeah, he's.
You know.
I often see him in the news, and his comments are always bang on. I mean, he's been busy over the last 2 years.
Yep.
He's invited me to be part of different panels, and actually I'll be back at the Coffee Association convention.
And when's that?
In the fall. I think it's in October, but I love that show. Coffee.
I mean,
just,
I see a lot. You know, one thing I noticed when I walk around, there's got to be 24 coffee machine vendors here. It's a big deal, right?
I think it's always been that way though, because I mean, if you want to get people hooked on your product, on your menu, you basically need coffee.
It's good margins too, right?
Good margins.
Pull an espresso, charge a couple $3 for it at the restaurant, add something on the bill, right?
But you know what's surprising this year that I've seen this year that I haven't seen before? What? There's automation. Lots of kiosks selling robots.
Oh, interesting.
Did you see that over there? I mean, it's just lots and lots, not just 2, 3. Like I think there's like 5 or 6.
Well, did you see in the news? Did you see Freshie was in the news this week for maybe not the right reasons? Did you see what they did? They had a remote service rep at their restaurant's pilot. So when you walked into a Freshie, which most of the time I suspect sits kind of empty, right? Is a big peak around lunch or whatever.
That's right, yeah.
So the idea was you walk into the Freshie and you tap the screen and a live agent comes on to help you check out. It's a bit of a mix of self-serve and you get a live agent.
Right.
Which I thought, well, that's pretty neat.
Hi, my name is Sandra.
Yeah, it's not recorded. It's like you're talking to somebody live. Like the problem is, I guess, they went and their vendor was sourcing from like South America or something for a lower than average. You know, the reporter I think called up and said, "How much you get paid?" And it was not a lot of money. A
reporter was.
A reporter said, "Hey, how much do you get paid?" And the guy said, "About $3.25 an hour." So I think unfortunately the story became paying $3.25 an hour. Where I think the more interesting story is if you would have paid someone in Moncton, you know, $20 an hour, that would be an interesting story. In other words, people would be going, "Wow, that's another." I don't know if I like it. But I think people are going to have to get used to it in terms of automation, and there's just not enough people to fill those jobs, right? So
exactly.
But I was talking to someone, and he said, "Listen, man, we bank at ATMs, we fill our own gas, we self-checkout, 75%, right?
75% of Canadians the last 6 months have used self-checkout at least once,
whether they wanted to or not.
Whether they wanted to or not.
Well, and I think every time I was speaking to the media about self-serve, there's kind of this notion that you're taking someone's job, right?
No.
That out in the community that, hey, that could be somebody's job. Well, the reality is nobody to take those jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, here's my experience. So I had some Australian retailers in for a tour this weekend. So I went to like 20 stores. We didn't go to 20. And one of them, I won't say who, had maybe 50 self-checkouts and 3 full checkouts.
Right.
Man, it was hopping. And the self-checkouts were between a few items, a lot of items. But here's what I noticed. It was going great. Consumers are accepting it. Nobody's going to the full service. But then when they started breaking down, going offline, I got to thinking, you know, when you're running a store and it's mostly self-checkout, when those things go down, it's not like you can call reps to go work the cash. The cash is gone. Yeah. So things were backing up. They fixed them, but it was a bit of a scramble. But it's interesting.
I can imagine, you know? Yeah.
It's interesting.
So relying fully on machines may not be the best thing unless you're absolutely sure that it won't break.
Well, or you can't have, you know, if you need 10, you need 15.
Yeah.
Like you got to have redundancy because they could break, right? And if 5 of them go down and you only got 4 and, you know, you got 9, you're in trouble on a Saturday afternoon, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway, but mostly, you know, we see that kind of stuff. So that was interesting. We talked about inflation. We talked about that. We talked about this show here. What else have you seen on the show floor that's kind of grabbed your attention? I see lots of plant-based.
Going back to your comments about chicken farmers, who I actually really respect, by the way. I don't know if they feel that way. I actually do believe so. In the SM5s, they tend to not necessarily like what I do because they feel they have to stick together. Most of our
well, they're like a flock. I mean, it's kind of their nature.
They're fun. To be honest, I mean, typically the SM5s, their strategy is to stick together. All of our work
What's an SM5? What's that?
Supply management 5. There are 5 divisions in supply management.
The SM5. I thought it was like a new rock band.
No. It may sound like it, yeah.
They do.
But
the SM5.
dairy's been the focus of our work, really, mainly. When it comes to eggs and poultry, we think that they're absolutely competitive. I mean, they don't really have much. They would survive without quotas, to be honest. Not dairy. But the one thing that I've noticed here since I've been at the show is that dairy is everywhere. Did you notice?
Yeah.
They're sponsoring they were sponsoring my thing.
Yeah.
They were there,
Yeah.
and they were sponsoring my panel with my name.
Were they giving you the stink eye when you were up there, or were they?
No, not at all. I mean,
no, they're really making a big play. You're
but
right.
but I think because if you remember in 2020 when we met, plant-based was everywhere. You had oat milk here. You had soy milk there. They were marching. They were just everywhere. And I thought, where's dairy? Dairy's just being squashed.
Yeah.
But I think it's their comeback. They want to make a statement. They want to get restaurants to serve milk again, dairy products again, because they're in jeopardy. They're under a lot of pressure. Yeah. And they have $150 million to spend on marketing every year. I mean, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
And a lot of money's here.
A lot of money's here. What else did I see? I see Yes. Remember we had trying stuff with that. Sorry, not Yes, but Just Egg. Remember we had trying stuff episode.
Are they here?
They're here. They got a big booth and they're serving. They got 8 or 9 people cooking Just.
I bought some while in Florida.
Yep.
So because it's actually there, it's been there for a while.
Yeah. I just bought some from Walmart. Actually, Walmart carries it consistently.
Oh, wow.
And Walmart, I gotta say, I did some food buying at Walmart this week. Their curbside game is amazing. I was online about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, placed an order, and it was an order for 9 o'clock. And lo and behold, I show up, you turn the app on, it knows you're coming because you say I'm coming, GPS, and they're at your back gate in 2 minutes, right? 2 minutes.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey. Sorry, what? Okay.
You want to know what's going on? We're alive. It's our podcast. Yes, that's right. It's the Food Professor podcast. This is Mike LeBlanc, and I'm Sylvain Charlebois. And we're recording right now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. So let me see what's next to talk about here.
You're seeing you're seeing an industry in recovery mode.
Yeah.
And frankly, during my panel, it was kind of group therapy.
Yeah.
It was just,
we've been through a lot.
And I tried to get the panel to talk about the future and not much about the past, asking them what's new in your business, how you're approaching the future and things like that. But you could feel that, there's hurt, there's pain, there was pain. And frankly, of course there was pain. It's been very difficult for food service. And frankly, I don't think that anybody would have imagined that something like this could ever happen.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I remember walking the show floor and it was March, right? And I had a sense of what was coming because I talked to a lot of retailers who operate in China and they didn't have a clue. I'm like, aren't you really worried about what's going to happen? It's going to be all right. Like that. I think many of us underestimated what was coming, right? So,
but it's there's always this distinction to make between the virus and how humans deal with the virus.
Yeah.
Because what really hurt in the end was how we mitigated risk related to the virus, lockdowns and everything. Because the 6th variant was worse in terms of the number of cases. You saw the numbers in Ontario and across the country. They were.
But thanks to the science and the vaccine, the impact was much more moderate.
Off the charts.
And what do you think about what's going on in China? Right, Shanghai is locked down, and
it's picking up again.
It's what they've done is they've instituted, what do they call it, the closed loop system.
Yeah.
You know what that is? They lock everybody in the warehouse.
That's right.
So they're bringing they're
bringing the job done without
don't leave, and so there's still trouble there.
So zero tolerance, but
here's your cot. That's where you'll be staying for the next month.
But seriously, the zero tolerance policy, it's pretty darn hard with a virus like that. It's very viral, and I don't know. But Shanghai is impacting the entire world yet again.
I heard 10% of all goods are stuck in port in Shanghai.
Yeah.
10% of all goods traveling the world
Or
are stuck. Now
it's a big deal.
let's talk about supply chain. So I've been reading some baby formula issues. Now retailers are saying they're working hard and they're out here and there, but generally it's not. What's your assessment of the situation?
Well, first of all, I'm surprised that media hasn't covered the story until now. I mean, they're starting to look into the story. It's been in the news in Florida over the last 3 weeks. I mean, there's been shortages everywhere. Abbott was actually hit by a recall in February. Abbott is the largest manufacturer of baby formula. They do get ingredients from abroad. They've been having some problems. 2 toddlers died in the U.S. And so they had a recall. One of their plants is going to be closed until August. And so there's not going to be a whole lot of product. So parents are scrambling right now to find the best product possible to substitute the product they actually used for their babies. And I mean, you're a parent, I'm a parent.
Yeah.
Changing baby formula is not the obvious thing to do,
No,
right? If something works, you want to
stick with it,
especially when it comes to food.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going on. I think there's still enough product in the market. It's just right now we're seeing a lot of parents forced to change brands, and that's problematic. So they have to consult with their pediatrician, the dietitian, to make sure that
their baby who keeps spitting it out at twice the rate.
I know.
For their kids, I remember those days.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. So it's an inconvenience, and for some parents, it's quite nerve-wracking for sure.
Let's talk about, you made this comment, what was it, on the genetic engineering bashing that has held us back. Let's talk about that.
You read that?
I read that. Let's talk about that comment.
You know what? It was part of an op-ed I wrote a few weeks ago saying, Canada should be doing something to help farmers, because Biden right now is proposing a $500 million package to Congress to help farmers produce more of the grains we need right now. Yeah. And Ottawa's idle. And I said, well, and in an op-ed, I actually kind of made a wish list of things that I'm hoping things would change over the next little while. And one of them at the very bottom, like almost at the end,
almost an afterthought.
Yeah.
You almost were going to take it out of the article.
Who reads an entire op-ed?
Who reads it to the bottom?
Exactly.
Right. If you want to kill somebody, bury the body at the bottom of an op-ed. It's usually right.
So my initial words were, we're paying for years of GMO bashing by overeducated city dwellers. I mean, that's kind of what I wrote, and I meant it because a lot of people who are very opposed to genetic engineering don't understand agriculture at all. I mean, that's the bottom line. Of course, people think about green lawns and glyphosate, but stakes in farming are absolutely quite high.
Well, let's talk about a very dark subject. It's funny, I've been saying amongst my counterparts, I said, there's a global famine coming. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of how bad it is. What's your assessment today?
Do you think people are aware?
No. When I say that in the public, in my colleagues, and they're like,
what are you talking about?
What do you mean? Like, they're very focused on what's going on in the Ukraine today, right? The horrors that are going on today.
Yeah.
And I think, we need to get everybody to start turning their minds to the horrors that will happen 6 to 8 months from today. I was in a Uber with a driver. He's from Lebanon. He goes, we get 100% of our grain from Russia. That's not coming now.
No.
Right. So you've talked about this a couple of times in the podcast, but are you equally pessimistic, more optimistic, or just a little baffled as why no one's paying attention to this?
I think being pessimistic is the wrong word. I'm greatly concerned, really. I was actually on your morning this morning on CTV, and we were talking about vegetable oil. And
they're rationing them in Europe, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so they're rationing them in Europe, and Indonesia has just decided to ban palm oil exports, and that's the scariest.
Wait, does that mean Buttergate is over?
It means that palmite is getting more expensive. It's the only way to get them to stop to use that darn thing.
What do we call that?
Butter's gonna be soft again. Let's make butter great again.
We'll make it butter great again. Indonesia's not going to ship us their palm oil.
But actually, palmite has gotten more expensive, but farmers are still using it, unfortunately. But palm oil is the cheapest vegetable oil in the world by far.
I didn't know that.
And of course, people are concerned about the environmental aspect of palm oil, and why wouldn't you? But it is the cheapest vegetable oil in the world, and a lot of companies like Mondelez, Ferrero Rocher with Nutella, Nestle, I mean, they're all big buyers of palm oil, and they can't get it now. Malaysia is dealing with some labor issues. That's the number 2 exporter. They can't get products out either. Canola, you say? Well,
Can't we be the powerhouse of canola? Aren't we the canola?
We imported canola last year. How
does that work? Is it
the drought? So, and the U.S. is the same. In South America, you have Paraguay, Brazil, Argentina hit by droughts, and they actually are big soybean oil producers. And if you want to go back to Ukraine with sunflower oil, well, guess what? They're not going to be producing as much. And Russia is affected by sanctions. So, in a nutshell, and right here at the RC show, operators will tell you, vegetable oil has doubled in price.
Wow.
Since last year.
Liquid gold.
And it's going to increase by probably another 30-40% by the time by
30 or 40%
by the end of this year.
Now, is there something Canada can do? I mean, weather aside, I mean, I remember on an earlier podcast we were saying there was good snow out west, so there was some moisture in the ground.
Actually, less so. There hasn't been so new reports are in now, and there's not as much moisture. Of course, Manitoba, there's too much moisture. There's flooding. But out west in both Saskatchewan and Alberta, there's not enough moisture, unfortunately. But I would say really what would help farmers is on insurance, on diesel, brakes on diesel for sure, and fertilizer.
Let's talk about fertilizer. So the fertilizer guys must be making. Nutrien
just made $1.4 billion this past quarter. They're printing money.
Now, how does that now? Is there anything going on in the U.S.? I mean, the Biden government seems to be taking more a forward step on this.
Absolutely.
Are they doing something around?
So it's being proposed this week, and because of course numbers are out in the U.S. today about inflation, so he was preparing for that.
Yeah.
And but I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Ottawa, to be honest. I mean, there's nothing that tells me. And I was testifying on Monday. I was supposed to testify on Monday in Ottawa. Right. Unfortunately, it got delayed. The finance committee at the House of Commons is a gong show. I mean, it's just you never know what's going to happen. I was actually just on standby, and there was a vote basically to extend committee business. So we basically were tossed. We were 3 witnesses, so all 3 of us were.
That was going to be remote. The testimony's all still remote.
I was remote, but the 2 others were there.
Oh, they're starting to do in-person testimony.
Yeah, so they left, and I left as well. But I sent a note to the chair saying that I'm not insulted. I can, if you invite me again, that's not going to be.
I'll come back.
Yeah, exactly. But what I was going to argue on Monday in Ottawa was that. We need to make agriculture more efficient here, like as soon as possible through genetic engineering. The approval process is like 5-6 years for new traits. Come on,
do we need new stuff, or do we just need different policy? Well, I mean, isn't there product in the pipeline now to deal with that? Like, do we need new, or do we just need better policy or more funding? Like,
so for this year, all we can do is to look at fiscal measures to help farmers. That's basically
help them get the product in the ground.
More cash flow, products in the ground. That's it. But for the longer term, we need a vision on efficiency, including supply chain resiliency. Let's look at our generic engineering agenda, the approval process.
And what's the long run in your mind? Like, are we talking within the next 5 years? Like, what's the long run look like?
We need a vision for the next 5 to 10 years to make Canada a super powerhouse. Let me give you an example. And what I wrote in the piece that was published in Toronto Star was Canada needs a food autonomy strategy, which means really to produce more food in an open economy. Right now, we buy for a little less than $4 billion worth of food from California every year.
Okay.
California is challenged by water issues. They're running out of water.
That's not new, and that's
it's
pretty
not
pervasive,
new. So
right?
we're gonna have to really think of ways to get food. If we do things right, we could eventually sell to California
Wow.
$4 billion worth of food if we want to, if we actually do things right.
Mm.
My sense is that we lack ambition, unfortunately, in Canada.
Hmm.
I do think that we could have.
Is that political ambition or cultural ambition? What do you think?
I think it's a mixture between politics and I mean, of course, some players want the status quo in Canada, but the status quo I don't think is enough, especially from a global perspective. Canada can actually do better in the grand scheme of things than what it is. We only have one growing season, but let's work with that. Brazil, I mean, they basically can harvest and then seed again, right? Yeah,
non-stop,
so it's very efficient. But I think there are ways to make our land more efficient 12 months a year. So it's a lack of focus, really.
Right on. I'm just texting Robert here. He's trying to find us.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's trying to find us. So Mr. Coffee is on the way. I guess that would have been better if I would have told him up front where exactly we were going to be.
I just got an email from him.
Yeah. You tell him to look for the Restaurant Canada banner up top. See? And then see us.
That's right. And so in a nutshell, that's basically why I wrote the genetic engineering bashing. Are you concerned about genetic engineering yourself?
You know, I have this free-floating anxiety about it, but I don't
Really?
I don't think it's based in any fact. I don't know. See, that's it. I don't know. It's just like genetic engineering. It sounds, but through this podcast, I've learned so much. Right? It's about education. If I hadn't talked to the people, is that Robert? No, that's not Robert.
That's not,
yeah.
Well, what I said, I don't know if you watched Jimmy Fallon, but Jimmy Fallon once actually went on the street and asked people if they were afraid of GMOs.
What did they say?
95% of people would say, "Oh yeah, I'm afraid of GMOs," and then they ask, "So what is a GMO?"
I don't know.
Exactly.
I just know I don't want it in my. And it's a lot of marketing, right? Non-GMO this, non-GMO that. I mean, many of the products that we try all say non-GMO.
I've argued to Crop Life and Monsanto and Bayer. I mean, when Monsanto was around, Bayer and BASF, and I told them, make it transparent. Allow people to befriend the technology and label it. No, if we label it, we're going to scare people. Well, guess what's going on with the non-GMO project? They're slapping the non-GMO project on bottles of water, for goodness sake.
Come on.
Is there genetically modified water? No. Is it? They're slapping the non-GMO project on oranges. Are they oranges that are genetically modified? No. So there's lots of abuse out there because the industry didn't want to be transparent. So they're paying for the lack of transparency.
Architect of their own trouble, which is sometimes often the case, right?
I would say so. And so
we should talk about the show a little bit. So while we're waiting to Robert to hopefully find us, we'll keep an eye out for him. All right. So we got a couple.
Probably actually stopped at another coffee stand there. Sell some memberships.
Sell a membership. That's right.
Get some sponsorships.
So we got this episode. You're on the road next week. And then we're gonna do the following week. So we're gonna.
No, actually, next week I'm at USF most of the week, and because I'm doing that MOOC on the future of food with my colleagues at the University of South Florida, and then we're off. We're back in Canada, but we're just staying. We're gonna be staying a few days in New York.
Nice.
It's my daughter's 15th birthday, so
that'll be fun. So how was your Florida? So on the 20th, we're supposed to have a podcast on the 25th. I think that's your week of travel. So what we're gonna do is push. So the first, and the first is at the Canadian RCC Canadian Grand Prix products. We're gonna have some fun there. We're the sponsors of that awards.
Yes.
And in addition, so we're starting to roll out all of our bonus episodes from Seattle. Our first one's out the door, but now I'm doing recording for bonus episodes for Canadian Grand Prix finalists.
Okay.
So those are going to start rolling out too. So it's going to be bing, 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 lots of episodes. The June 1 episode that we'll record will be our last episode live together for the summer. But then we'll just be on the mic every now and then. I'll be on, you'll be on, sometimes together, sometimes not. all summer with these bonus episodes, many of which are recorded or soon to be recorded. So if you're listening in, lots of great content coming. Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Lots of great
this
content
guy
coming.
generates a lot of content. He thinks I generate a lot of content.
Yeah, you generate a lot of content.
You generate a lot of content, and those interviews are just fabulous.
Yeah, they're a real joy to listen to, and to kind of just listen and meet these entrepreneurs. We're going to be interviewing some people actually from this show that I've met, and we're going to bring them in from Scout. The
How many
canned
RC
food.
shows have you been to?
That was my first. That was
In
my first.
2020?
Where we met, that was my first RC show.
Wow.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me in.
What do you mean?
Well, I didn't have a Food Professor podcast. They were like, I don't know if the podcast is very young there.
It was just starting, or the retail,
The voice of retail.
the voice
yeah.
of retail. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, they're pretty strict about media credibility credentials here. So
Oh
they're
yeah.
like, no, we don't think. No, to be fair, I only applied like a year before, so anyway, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Whatever, it's not a big deal. All right.
But-
So listen, our live stream continues. We'll see if we get Robert in here. We'll hang out for another kind of minute. We might leave. Thanks everybody for joining
I
us on
just
the
saw
live stream.
James Watson, the vice president of Gordon Foods, who was actually on the panel with me.
Yep.
Great guy, and Gordon Foods, great stories he was able to share with us. Of course, he's in food service, and they got a lot of great stories to tell now, and they're just. They've actually changed their business model. They have pivoted a little bit. The way they actually manage expectations has changed as well. The way they allow.
Oh, someone just passed out over there.
Oh, that's a seizure.
Mm.
Oh my goodness, that's a seizure. Yeah.
Huh.
You just need to put it on the side there.
Yeah, it looks like there's some people coming over there. I saw an ambulance in here before. Live. We're live. There's something going on here. All right.
Wow.
Hopefully somebody will
That's
take care of
always
them.
bad. This is probably the third time I've seen that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. All you need to do is make sure that there's nothing can hurt and it doesn't swallow his tongue. So that's too bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Let's not leave the live stream on that note.
Exactly.
So you'll be at my place a little bit later. We're going to shoot a couple of episodes of the barbecue show. So look forward to that. I got some fun surprises for you.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it.
When you get there.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
Hang out on the patio. So let's wrap up the live stream. So thanks everybody for tuning in.
That's right.
And thanks to George Hansen, if you're still there. George and I met in New York. He's with Panera. Fantastic leader for Panera
I see
Bread.
his note there. Yeah.
So I got to get you more used to interacting with people as they kind of comment. There's a lot going on, a lot for me to manage here.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
A lot for me to manage here. But anyway, listen, thanks for tuning in. We're going to wrap the live stream and tune in for the podcast, which will be live, and all kind of shenanigans coming up from RCC's Canadian Grand Prix Awards, where if all goes well, which so far it has, we're going to do live streaming backstage as the winners come off the stage.
Wow.
Which will be just a pile of fun, and then we'll be on the stage giving an award and then all that.
Like
kind of
they just would learn they won, and then
they would learn their one. They come
like
off
the Oscars.
They get their hardware. They come back for a picture, and with the backstage, we'll be backstage going, "Are you going to Disney now?" Yeah, kind of thing. What have you got to say?
Yeah.
Throw a mic in front of them and see what
I
happens.
want to thank my agent.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my agent, exactly. All right, everybody, I'm going to shut down the live stream. Thanks so much, and tune into the podcast.
All right, take care.